Miracle glitches. When God hit pause on the laws of nature. And here are 8 of the most shocking ones the Bible records. Number 6. Everyone thought the story was over, until it wasn't. And the very last, it breaks the one law of reality no human has ever escaped. So stick around, because these aren't just stories. They're proof the rules of nature aren't the final word. Number 1, the Red Sea splitting, the water physics override. The sound of hooves thundering behind you, the roar of the ocean in front. Waves slam the shore like a countdown to death. And then, the impossible. The sea tears in two. Water rises, higher than houses, frozen like glass. The seabed stretches out, dry as a desert road. A path opens where no path existed. Science says liquids collapse instantly. Water never holds its shape. Gravity doesn't just take a break. But that night, physics glitched. Reality itself bent. An ocean obeyed its creator. And here's the shocking part. If the Red Sea could split once, how many other times in history has God overridden reality in ways too small for us to even notice? Number 2, the sun stands still, the time override. Joshua and Israel were in the middle of a battle against their enemies, but night was falling, and darkness meant certain defeat. The battle rages. Shadows stretch across the field. Night is coming, and with it loss. So Joshua prays, and suddenly the sun halts. It hangs, unmoving. The moon stops. Time itself stalls. Astronomy says the universe runs with perfect precision. Orbits don't pause. The cosmic clock never skips a beat. But in that war, it did. The timeline glitched. The creator froze the universe's clock so his people could win. And here's the eerie thought. If time can be stretched once, what does that say about how God holds your timeline in his hands? Number 3, Jesus walks on water, the gravity override. After feeding thousands with just 5 loaves and 2 fish, Jesus sent his disciples across the lake. But a storm rolled in, and their boat was nearly lost. Night on the lake, waves crashing, wind screaming, the disciples straining at the oars, panic rising. And then they see him, a figure walking toward them. Not sinking, not swimming, walking. Physics says water can't support human weight. Buoyancy fails. Gravity always wins. But not this night. Gravity glitched. The storm bowed to the one who wrote its code. And here's the haunting thought. If the laws of gravity can be suspended in an instant, what other rules of reality could God bend to reach you in the middle of your storm? Number 4, water into wine, the chemistry override. At a wedding in Cana, the celebration was about to collapse. The wine had run out, and in that culture, it wasn't just embarrassing, it was shameful. Then Jesus steps in. He tells the servants to fill 6 jars with water. They obey, pour it out, and suddenly it isn't water anymore. It's wine, rich, mature, perfect. Chemistry says fermentation takes months, even years. Molecules don't rearrange instantly. But here, they did. Time itself glitched. A chemical process fast-forwarded by the command of Jesus. And here's the personal question. If Jesus can transform water into wine in a moment, what does that say about his power to transform you? Instantly, completely, without warning. Number 5, feeding the 5,000, the scarcity override. A huge crowd had followed Jesus, but now thousands sat hungry on the hillside, and the disciples had nothing but 5 loaves and 2 fish. Jesus takes the bread. He gives thanks. The baskets are passed. And suddenly, there's more. Bread multiplying, fish never running out. Everyone eats, everyone is satisfied, and 12 baskets overflow with leftovers. Math says scarcity rules. Matter doesn't duplicate endlessly. But here it did. The code of limitation glitched. Finite became infinite in the hands of Jesus. And if he could override scarcity once, couldn't he override the scarcity you face today? Time, energy, money, hope. Number 6, Lazarus raised to life, the death override. Lazarus was a close friend of Jesus, But he fell sick and died. By the time Jesus arrived, he had already been in the tomb for 4 days. The stone was sealed. The smell of decay already set in. Family and friends wept. It was final. And then Jesus calls out, "Lazarus, come out." The dead man stumbles forward, grave clothes still wrapped around him, alive. Biology says death is irreversible. Cells don't restart, decay doesn't reverse. But here, it did. Mortality glitched. Life rebooted. And if Lazarus could return once, what does that mean for all the graves still waiting to be emptied? Number 7, the fiery furnace, the fire override. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego were Jewish exiles in Babylon, and they refused to bow down to King Nebuchadnezzar's golden idol. For their defiance, they were sentenced to death by fire. The furnace blazes, heated 7 times hotter. Guards collapse just approaching the flames. The 3 men are thrown in, but the fire doesn't touch them. Their ropes burn away. Their clothes and hair remain untouched. Not even the smell of smoke. Chemistry says fire consumes everything. Heat destroys without mercy. But here, it didn't. The flames glitched, their burn code disabled, and a 4th figure walked with them, like the Son of God. And if fire itself can be commanded to stand down, what else in creation listens when God speaks? Number 8, Jesus' resurrection, the eternal override. Jesus had been crucified and buried. A heavy stone sealed the tomb. Roman guards stood watch. It looked like the end of his story, until the 3rd day. The stone is rolled back. The guards collapse in fear, and the grave is empty. Jesus lives. Death is supposed to be final, the most unbreakable law of reality, the code no one escapes. But here it glitched. The system collapsed. The author of life rewrote the ending, not just for himself, but for everyone who believes. And that makes this override different from Lazarus. Lazarus was raised, but he died again. Jesus rose, and he never will. His resurrection wasn't just reversal, it was permanent victory. And if death itself can be undone forever, then maybe the final glitch isn't something to fear, but the promise of eternal life. So what did we just see? These weren't random errors. They were God showing he runs the code. And if he can override water, fire, time, and even death, don't you think he can override your story too? That's the promise of eternal life. Not just back then, but right now. And hey, if God can multiply bread and fish, imagine what he can do with one little click. So go ahead, hit subscribe, and watch him multiply this message all over YouTube. And then watch more. Trust me, you'll never look at the Bible the same way again.